So I'm pretty excited.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Fran is all over the place. I don't know how he makes that.
Yeah, I want to hear more about what Superfluid is doing. I know Fran mentioned that like people have the ability to earn down to like the second. Um, and at Opolis, we're doing like annual payroll and stuff. So I think there's actually some crossover on our product roadmap at Opolis. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to learn more on this call.
Yeah, we were talking to some of your team at Opolis to looking at integration with Superfluid in Q1 2023. So there's definitely a lot of overlap between what you guys are building, kind of fully compliant payroll solution for US market, and what we do. So, looking forward to chatting, maybe more in private.
Yeah, we should definitely connect for sure.
Cool. Well, Jared, just let me know when we're good to go, and I'll get started.
Yeah, we're good to go. Yeah, we're good to go now. You can get started, or you do like, or maybe we could do like a brief introduction, just so we could get some more people filling up in here before you officially start. So you can give brief background to who you are and how you got involved in Superfluid.
Sure. Well, I have a background in engineering to start with. I studied electrical engineering, computer science, that eventually turned into more and more the business side of building, a company. It eventually evolved into tech entrepreneurship. After graduating, I did a couple of documentaries about tech startups across Europe and Silicon Valley, and that got me to get very excited of working with entrepreneurs all over the world. I became a bit of a bridge between the European startup scene and venture capital scene and the Silicon Valley one. Got headhunted to run a robotic bartender company, which was a little bit of fun, even though it was not fully aligned with my life goal, because we were basically just a stunt for making people happy while serving them a drink. And then I moved to London in 2015 to dive a little bit deeper into the investor side of things, trying to find golden nuggets across the deep tech startup scene. Worked with a lot of founders at seed and Series A level, sometimes Series B, and then in 2016 I've seen Ethereum going live, and I just learned a little bit of it, and I basically got dragged down the rabbit hole there. I stayed in a research position for quite a while, working with investors in the space, and I was building my own token analytics type of thing. So I was looking at tokenomics, and that's when in summer 2020, no, in summer 2019, I went to Berlin Tech Week, and there was this hackathon going on. It was like Berlin Zwei, and when I was there, I met Fran and Meow. They were building something pretty cool called RDAI, which was a way to decouple the interest you accrue on Compound on your Zai, and send that interest to another wallet than the one you deposit the CDI into. And so that was a way to like basically stream interest out of Compound into a wallet. And we're sitting down and we're wondering, can we actually generalize that and build something which is more like a payment route or payment rails. And so we're brainstorming that together, and then effectively there was enough interest to go after that we started a company in like Fab 2020. We actually named it Superfluid, and we basically took about a year to build out the technology and validate that it did what we wanted it to do. So there was a lot of deep engineering and math to figure out. There was a lot of solvency items to figure out. We were using blockchain in a fairly novel way. There was not many other projects that were doing what we did. And so we really had a lot of like engineering heavy lifting. But then after about a year, we were able to raise a seed round. We're like 5 people working on it then. And we're about 25 now. We have grown the company like 5x in 16 months, and basically we have seen a load of use cases that this technology can be applied to flourish, with about 500 projects built on Superfluid so far. My role has always been around the jolly person. So I've taken on a COO position, which is basically do everything that anyone else cannot do for now type of role. And then I built out product, built out marketing, built out our operations team, and now I'm building out the growth team. I'm basically doing what needs to be done to make sure the protocol is successful.
Really nice. Wow, you experienced rapid growth pretty quickly. So in 16 months, you increased the company size by how many times? Was it?
Yeah, about 5x.
Nice. And are you guys a DAO too?
Not yet. We're probably gonna work our way to get to a DAO. It's just a bit tricky because we are working both with the full Web3 world, like the likes of Bankless DAO or MakerDAO, but also we have to work with quasi Web3 companies like Aave, which are not entirely a DAO, or even fintechs,
Yeah.
which are not DAOs at all. So it makes it tricky because if we go full on Web3, then the likes of large payment processors or fintech providers, they don't know who to sign a contract with. They want to have a legal entity or a foundation, and that makes it a lot more tricky when you are completely just decentralized. So we need to be a little bit in a transition now from where we are today to eventually become fully kind of distributed, decentralized DAO. But there is a little bit of an uncharted territory. So we're trying to understand how can we go there while also being able to work with the existing, say, Web2 world. And it's not entirely frictionless, especially if you decide that you want to provide to major players like Twitter or PayPal or Mastercard. Yeah, these guys normally find it a little bit of a struggle to deal with a DAO. So it's a bit of a question mark we have right now.
Okay, interesting. I'd love to follow up with you there and see what route Superfluid goes in the future. But yeah, so we got some people filling up here. If you're ready, yeah, we could kick off the demo now.
Sounds good. Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
All right. So if you do, then maybe you can also see my screen. Can you?
It's loading up on my side. My computer's a bit slow. Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Yeah, so I don't want to take too much of your time, so I will try to be brief here. And apologies already for all the notifications on people joining or leaving the channel. My Discord is still running, so I don't have a way to remove those audio from the stream. But basically, I want to introduce you to Superfluid and especially to the kind of payroll automation use case. Of course, Superfluid can do a lot more than that, but this is like clearly one of the most needed processes to automate in Web3 because now everyone is talking about, managing expenses from a DAO point of view, and the largest expense tends to be the team or contributors in general, and then also eventually managing revenues, and that's another conversation. But yeah, we realized that crypto payroll is very much broken, and that everyone in Web3 uses like a lot of tools that are very rudimental to manage their payroll, and there's a lot more that can be done, which is not being done at the moment. So to give you an idea, a lot of people are paying from MetaMask, which has inherent security issues, and others that are a little bit more sophisticated use NoseSafe. But the major issue is that everybody or almost everybody is using Excel. And so all the payroll processes are tracked very manually. They are done, every 2 weeks or every month. And there's a lot of human error that goes into that. There's a lot of heterogeneous processes. Like basically every DAO has its own mechanisms that were developed internally based on, very imminent needs. And there is a lot of differences between all these processes across all the DAOs out there. And it turns out to be very inefficient. One of the most common issues is that the signers of the multisig that can actually do the payments are very senior people or people that are very busy, and they are distracted with these signatures to be made every time there is a massive payout to be approved or anything like that. So we can say there is a lot of room for improvement here. If you want to have a metaphor to some degree, the DAO payroll solution looks a lot like this data center, where cabling is very messy and is very, very hard to tell where the inefficiencies are. And so what we're trying to achieve here is to get from this to something that is looking a lot more like this. This is still the same, but a little bit more organized, and you finally understand what's going on, who has been paid, who has not been paid, etc., etc. So just to give you an idea of what payroll looks like today for most of the DAOs we speak to, it looks a little bit like this. So let's say this is 1 year worth of payroll, and you get started today, and the first thing you want to do for your first payout is you want to set up the Gnosis Safe wallet, and then you need to decide how much you're going to pay whom. And that means that you have a series of monthly transactions where if you do a monthly payroll, a monthly payment, for every one of these transactions or bulk transactions, you need to basically input data like the addresses you're paying, the amount each address is going to be paid, etc., etc. And this is also requiring a lot of that signatures I was talking about earlier. So again, there is a lot of data entry. There's a lot that can go wrong, and you cannot recall the funds. And there's a lot of just time that is being used here to manage the process itself. So even if you do want to run the same payroll twice, where you don't have to change the Excel file too much, or you don't have to change the addresses too much, you still have a decent amount of potential mistakes you can make, and you want to triple check everything and make sure that there was no edits to the Excel file, etc., etc. So it becomes fairly bulky as a process. So we were looking into this process and thinking about how can we improve on that. So now if you were to, let's say, use Superfluid to streamline your payroll as a like this. So the same 1 year payroll, let's say, you want to get started today. And the first step you want to set up your Gnosis Safe as well. But then you can also decide what the status quo is going to look like. So who are you paying and how much? And then basically you start that process, and it runs fully automated in a constant stream. So you basically can open streams to as many contributors as you have, and for as long as they don't quit or they don't change their compensation, or they don't decide to fire them or promote them, everything is fully automatic and running with that one initial transaction. So you can open as many streams as you want with a single transaction, and that's basically puts everything in autopilot. When do you have to take action? Well, you only have to take action if something changes compared to the status quo. So if you need to increase or decrease someone's compensation, if someone joins or leaves, etc., etc. But basically, the payroll doesn't need to be run on a monthly basis. It just needs to be adjusted based on the changes to it. So that kind of reduces by orders of magnitude the amount of effort needed to run the same process. And at the same time, forget Excel, because you can use a nice UI to then have everything under control, including charts, expenses, labeling, accounting, etc., etc. So it fundamentally changes the mentality around payroll. Instead of something you process on a recurring basis every month, it becomes something that you set up and only adjust over time. So how do we do this? Well, as I mentioned before, we do this by automating the status quo with real-time streams that transfer bank tokens or any stable coins every second from wallet A to wallet B. As you can imagine, we're calling this money streaming. And effectively, it literally is moving funds from one wallet to the other every second in a constant flow, as Rachel from Opolis was saying before. So what are these streams? How do they work? This is important because it gives you an idea of, how is the underlying process. So Superfluid streams natively have a constant flow. So you can set, say, 10,000 USDC per month as the flow, or 2,000 bank tokens per week as a flow, and that is constant over time. So it's not going to change unless you edit it manually. Also, there is no lockup, so you don't have to take 1 year's worth of someone's salary and lock that up in a contract or something. You can simply have just enough to have the stream keeping running over time, and that basically is a just-in-time liquidity. So all the capital that you would use for this payroll can be used to leverage into DeFi or anything else that you want to do with it. So that there's no need to lock up everything up front. The third thing is that these streams are interconnected. So if I'm receiving a stream and I want to forward that to a ledger for my savings, or I want to forward that into DeFi to get some yield or buy some other asset, is fully composable. So I receive, I don't know, 10,000 USDC, and I send 2,000 of them into an exchange to purchase Ether in a constant way. So that's fully possible with Superfluid streams. Also, they have no end date by default. Of course, you can automate a stream to be opened or closed in the future. You can say, I want a stream to start 1st of January 2023, and I want it to end 21st of June 2023. But if you have streams that are going to contributors that are ongoing contributors and you don't know when they are going to stop working for the DAO, you can still leave the stream open-ended, and then it will be basically streaming until you decide to stop it or edit the value. Also, there is no gas fees for the streams running. So you only pay gas when you open, edit, or close a stream. Otherwise, it runs entirely gasless. And all of this comes with token wrapping. So in order to get all these features with no capital lockup and no gas expenses, we need to wrap the token that is being streamed into a 1-to-1 ratio, similar to how you're bringing DAI into Aave DAI. We need to bring DAI into Super DAI, and that is always a wrapper contract that is 1-to-1 redeemable and is locked there. So you don't need to exchange to wrap, basically. And a lot of people are confused when they enter into crypto about this kind of wrapping concept. But it's very straightforward. After you do any sort of like DeFi, you understand how token wrapping works. So yeah, these are Superfluid streams, and I want to just cover quickly how they work what's in it for the company or the DAO, which is actually paying in streams. But before, here you can see a quick 3D visualization of Polygon streams. So what you're looking at is 1,000 wallets that are streaming USDC on Polygon. And if we zoom in the middle, we can see an organization which is both paying their team and receiving revenues in a stream. And so what's interesting is that you can really literally see the economy of moving funds across different wallets, which is quite fascinating to me. So what's in it for the DAO? Well, there's a lot less effort because you set everything once and forget about it, unless you have to do changes. Of course, there is no overhead because less processing also means less signatures, which means less multi-sig issues. And then, of course, there's a lot less complexity because you have a UI that doesn't require multiple pieces of information to come together, like, notice safe transactions and, Excel files, understanding which transaction does what and if you have to approve it or not. All that nightmare is somewhat abstracted. What's in it for you that receive the salary stream if you're a contributor? Well, first of all, you do get paid every second. So you see your balance in MetaMask without ever coming to Superfluid dashboard tick up at every block. And as you see it growing, you can immediately make use of it. So that's pretty sweet. Also, you have a lot more understanding of your personal finances if you start actually using streams to invest in real time. You can see how much you're earning, etc. And the most interesting thing to me is that you can compound in real time. So as you get paid every second, you can redirect some of that into DeFi. And you can purchase assets with that. You can, lock your token into something that generates a yield. And so you're compounding in real time on your income as you receive it, instead of doing that on a monthly basis whenever you receive your paycheck. And that's quite interesting if you run the math of how much more money you make that way compared to having to wait all the time. So that's how that's what the value prop is. I just want to run you through how this works with CoinShift. So I'll just dive in here and just show you the dashboard, and then I'll show you what looks like for the recipient. So let's say that Bankless DAO or any other DAO decides to get started with CoinShift integration of Superfluid. So what they'll do is they'll import their Gnosis safe into this UI, and you can import as many Gnosis safes on as many networks as you want, and you'll see an aggregated balance for the whole DAO. And then you click New Transfer because you want to start streams for your team, and you select the safe you want to pay from. And here you select Stream Payout right here in the middle of the screen, which is like basically streaming with Superfluid. And here, once you do that, you basically only need to input the token. It could be bank token or a stable coin or any other token. And then you can decide who you're sending it to, manually or selecting from address book here. So we like Joe Rogan and Faber-Castell, and we want these guys to get some cash. So we just add, I don't know, $1, $1 USDC per month to each. And this per month, you can say per week, per year, but it always boils down to a per second equivalent. So it's a constant flow. It's just math for us to make it easier for you to decide how much to send. But a lot of people have yearly or monthly compensations. So let's agree on this, confirm it. We get a nice recap. We are sending a total of 2 USDC per month to 2 receivers. You have a list down there to show you everything that you're doing. It can be up to 100 streams. We tested it with 100. Now the transaction is submitted, so we need to sign it from the first wallet. This Gnosis safe is a 2 out of 2 multisig. So we need to sign with this wallet and then swap over to Firefox to sign with the other wallet as well. So here we find it under, transactions that are queued because I need to sign them, that were already signed by other signers. Here I find the description of what this is and what it does. And then I can approve it or not. In this case, since it's a 2 out of 2, I'm going to broadcast it as well and execute it on chain. So when this happens on Polygon for now, we will have a recap screen with the streams being actually open and working. And so there you will be able to do a lot of more things like editing them or not. So there you go. Here you can see we have $1 or 1 USDC per month to Joe Rogan and Faber-Castell, but also an external stream that we opened with a different dashboard. So, CoinShift will visualize those that are also done by other tools. And then here what we can do is we can, select Joe Rogan's stream and then potentially edit or stop it. So we just go ahead and click it, and maybe even Faber-Castell. And then here we can see how we can edit 2 streams or stop 2 streams. And if we do nothing, what happens is that these guys are going to keep receiving that 1 USDC per month over time until we either stop it or change the value, or we run out of funds in the safe itself, and so the streams are stopped. We have an automation system which allows you to maintain the underlying assets in your safe. So if you want to stream bank token, you will have just to keep bank in your Gnosis safe. And then we automatically wrap that to the Superfluid wrapped version, which is Bank X. And that is streamed over time. And we repeatedly wrap 7 more days every time your balance goes lower than 2 days worth of the streams you're sending. So that basically your liquidity stays in the underlying token and you don't wrap too much of it in advance just to keep the streams running. And that's also a very nice safety feature because that means that your overall exposure to Superfluid protocol is always at most 1 week worth of your streams, because everything else is unwrapped in the underlying token, so it's not exposed to the protocol code. So that's it from the payer side of things. So like, the DAO side of things. How does this work for the recipients? So if you are getting a stream with Superfluid and you're paid in a stream, you'll see something like this on our own dashboard. And you will see the token balance ticking up in real time. It actually is settled on a block level. So you will see the MetaMask changing every time a block is minted on whatever network you're in. And from here, if you're receiving Bank X or USDC X, you can do quite a lot of things. So the first thing you can do is you can unwrap, and that's fairly straightforward. But also you can go ahead and use an integration like Lee Finance, and then say you're receiving USDC X on Polygon, is fully compatible with Superfluid tokens. And here you can just swap that directly to ETH on mainnet. That means that you have the wrap version of USDC or bank, and with one transaction in 5 minutes and $7, we'll be getting Ether on mainnet. So it basically unwraps, bridges, and swaps to ETH in one single transaction, which is a lot better UX than having to do all these three manually and separately. So this is something we are very excited of because you can get to basically any other network, even layer 2s or side chains. But also we have a whole ecosystem of applications that are live, especially on Polygon, where you can use the super tokens directly. So here you do not have to unwrap the token to the underlying asset. You can just use the wrap version and it would be compatible with all of this. I'm especially excited about Ricochet because you can send a stream of, say, stablecoin and purchase an asset in real time. So you can DCA into Ether or bank tokens or whatever just by using Ricochet. And so yeah, that is a very nice UI because then you basically get whatever token and you can abstract it, and it is as if you were paying the other token you wanted to get instead, and you can do that proportionately. So you can say 10% of whatever I'm getting I want to turn into Bitcoin, and 20% of what I'm getting I want to turn into bank, etc., etc. The last thing is that something we announced today is that all our Superfluid streams are also NFTs. So if you're receiving a Superfluid stream, you don't even need to come to our dashboard to see how much you're getting, because you just need to check your wallet, and that will give you this NFT, which is automatically minted when the stream is started and is burned when the stream is stopped, to basically tell you how much you're getting. And you can see that on any wallet which is compatible to the network that the stream is sent to. So that's it for me. I'm not sure if you have a lot of questions, but I'm more than happy to stay here and answer them.
Well, that was an awesome demo. Thanks, Mike, for that. And I don't have any questions off the top of my head right now. I do have a hard stop in a few minutes, getting ready for another meeting. But yeah, guys, did anybody else have any questions, like let's say pertaining to like DeFi stuff that you could do with like an X for like the X version of your governance token, like in this case, Bank X. Like I'm interested to see like what protocols I can use that on. But I won't be here to hear the answer, unfortunately. But great job. Really enjoyed this demo.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My question is around people who run the businesses or DAOs and the Treasury Department and finance. Like, how do they feel about? Is Mike still here? Oh, there he is. How do they feel switching to this type of setup? Is it complex for them to change their thinking, or are they worried about like mistakes or overlooking streams that are already set up and overpaying people?
It is a new paradigm, so it does have a decent amount of friction if you are like a CFO company like Apple and you want to start streaming to everybody. But a lot of Web3 organizations are structured in a way that it allows them to be fairly flexible, and they just they can afford to use streams. We have a very nice way to reconcile accounting with streams, which is quite interesting and quite unique, I would say. Because basically what you can do is you abstract a stream as if they were like daily transactions and then report them onto your accounting software on a monthly basis, as if they were one monthly basis transaction for each counterparty. So yeah, basically like there is like invoicing that can be automated, there is accounting that can be automated. I don't see that being a much of an hassle. To be honest, but it depends on the DAO and what their structure is and what they expect from their processes.
What's the cost to use Superfluid and or Coin Shift?
Yeah, so both are free for now. You don't need to use CoinShift to use Superfluid. In fact, you can use Opolis, or you can use our own dashboard, or you can use just a line of Solidity, you know. It's fully permissionless and fully free. You only have to pay the gas fees. I suppose at some point in the future, CoinShift might start charging like SaaS fees or other type of fees. But we have found a way to make Superfluid fully sustainable for the time being without charging a percentage of the streams or introducing fees on the streams themselves. And we'll try to keep it that way for how possible. And again, if we decide to ever kick in fees, it's going to be through a decentralized governance process, and not something we'll do ourselves.
Gotcha. Very cool. This is incredibly interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, if you guys want to learn more, feel free to drop into our Discord. I know we are at time here, so they'll ask me to leave the stage to the next person, but I'll drop the Discord here in the chat, and I'll just drop a couple.
I think he dropped out.
Mike was timed out by Wickbot for posting a link to his own Discord.
Wow. Can he rejoin?
Man, that's not the first time that feature's bit me in the ass.
I've not seen this before.
Yeah, he can come back in 2 minutes. Until then, he can't even chat anywhere in the server.
Wow.
Yeah, you got him back.
He's probably like, well, I'm out for coffee.
That presentation was awesome for all the visual learners on here. I know that was really awesome to watch.
Agreed.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm curious if we can do like some sort of Opolis demo in the future, because I know there's a ton of crossover there when it comes to payroll, and like Opolis basically helps with like the compliance side of all that stuff, like making sure you're like compliant with US labor laws, like you're tax compliant, and get like the W-2 and pay stubs. I'm really excited to see that integration. And if you guys are down one day, maybe we can do an Opolis demo.
See that.
Hey Rachel, totally we can do that. I'll let you know the next available date. I think that's November 30.
Awesome. Cool.
We'll
By
set
the
you up
way,
for
you
that.
guys, while we have like another minute here before Mike joins back, we are actually doing a Twitter space on Friday. Above Average Joe will be speaking, and I believe Jairus will also be speaking. I think he hopped off the call, but you all are welcome to come. I'll go ahead and drop that link if you guys want to set a reminder and join.
Awesome. I've just messaged Mike. I'm not sure if he's gonna make it back, but I've let him know that he can come back and join. So
Yeah, I just tagged him in the DAOLationships channel. Hope make sure he didn't think it's us to kick him out.